And I'm really excited to see everybody. And I want to know, who of you were outraged on Wednesday when you heard Douglas was going to veto this bill? Now, let's hear voices. Come on, let's hear it. All right. It was really outrageous. And I think that we're in excellent company here in Windham County because our legislators and our senator here share with our outrage.
Good afternoon.
Hey.
Are you ready to pass Age 178, inoculating civil marriage?
Yes.
Me too. All over the state at this very moment, people are coming together, as we are, to support and speak up for what is right. There is nothing that can stop us from voicing our consciences, and nothing that can stop the strong will that all of us attending these rallies possess. You have undoubtedly heard, at least once in your life, that one person cannot make a difference. I am here today to tell you that that is not true. I have worked closely with the legislature, both during my tenure as a legislative page and now as an intern. One vote can make or break the deal, and one voice can convince one key legislator or hundreds of people. Those who testify or write letters or make phone calls or speak at rallies or write emails, they are all swaying the decisions that may have otherwise been different, one person at a time. One undecided rep could, with your influence, push this House vote over the 2/3 mark, therefore overriding the governor's veto and bringing this bill into law. Remember that we supporters aren't the only one doing these things. Opposers of this bill have their own tactics and ideas. However, we have one thing that they do not, and that is the courage to accept anyone and everyone, gay, straight, lesbian, or bisexual, for who they are.
Yeah.
The issue concerning this bill is not if it will pass, it is when it will pass. The marriage equality bill hadn't even reached the House floor when Douglas announced that he would veto it. Why the preemptive strike? Why is he so afraid to do what is right? These questions are tumbling around in our heads, waiting endlessly for an answer. The hope is that we will get one. The truth is that we probably won't.
It's a conversation about whether we're going to be a society of inclusion or exclusion.
Yeah.
A society that puts hope ahead of fear. And we've had that conversation in the early 1600s as to whether religions should enjoy equal treatment or whether there should be exclusivity. We decided it correctly. And we tend to think those conversations were easy then. They weren't. They were no easier than they are today. We had it again over abolition. We had it over women's rights. We had it over whether women could own property, still do. We had it over women would enjoy the vote. And that was a difficult and a close and a hard-fought battle over many years. We've had it over civil rights, and we're having it again today. We heard literally from hundreds of witnesses now and thousands of emails, most of them from scattered around the country from people who are sending form letters in opposition. We've heard from a lot of clergy, pro and con on the bill. We've heard from 2 bishops, one in favor, one opposed. And one of those we heard from last Friday was Bishop Matano, someone who very sincerely, based on his religious beliefs, opposes the bill. And much of the opposition, when you cut through all the clutter and all the argument, really is about 2 things. It's about tradition, and it's about religious values and people's faith. And I don't expect to change those people's mind, but Bishop Matano stumbled very inadvertently across a reason why I feel very personally invested in this bill, apart from its merits. He mentioned the fact that something over 30 states have now passed defensive marriage laws, and that we should consider that in our deliberations, that perhaps we were not well informed. And I told the bishop that I found that a very interesting parallel with something that related to me. I pointed out the fact that 13 years before I was married, I would have been a felon in 17 states in this country because I chose to marry a woman who happened to have been born in India.
When I look around this room, I see people. There are citizens in this country and around the world who think that our sexuality is what defines us completely. And I see people who are heterosexual, I see people who are homosexual, lesbian, I see people who are older, younger. We all have differences, but we're all people. And I think that's what this is all about, is accepting people who are gay and lesbian as people. The hate mail that we got with civil unions is a little bit more subdued this time, but all the clone emails that that we've been getting from across the country and from within Vermont as well feel to me like people are just afraid still. And what comes through, because most of them are coming from people who have certain religious beliefs that exclude gay and lesbian people as people, it comes through as fear of eternal damnation, fear of what's going to happen to their families, fear of a whole lot of things. I don't share that fear. I think that the majority of Vermonters are ready for gay marriage.
I was realizing on our state flag, which is right behind me, there's written at the bottom across a red banner the words Vermont, freedom and unity. That's the motto of the state of Vermont. And freedom is a birthright in our Constitution, a birthright to pursue happiness. Freedom is also stated in our Constitution for all persons to worship God according to the dictates of his or her conscience, and nor can any person, and this is key, I think, to all the testimony, a lot of the testimony we heard, nor can any person be justly deprived or abridged of any civil right as a citizen on account of religious sentiment. And I think that applies both ways. Not only my religious sentiment can't deny me rights in the state, but other people's religious sentiment can't deny me of my rights also.
History has shown that civil rights and social justice are usually a minority seeking what the majority experience. The causes of African Americans to be free and treated as such, women having the right to vote, children being treated as children and not forced into working servitude. This is something we have our high school to thank. We have the CLIA group at Brattleboro High School, and they have certainly opened the eyes of the adults around here to show what's still happening to children around the world. These are all examples of social justice where the sense of what is right for all is conveyed and manifest. And before us right now is a moment we have the opportunity to make social justice and stop the oppression of another minority, our friends, our neighbors, our brothers, our sisters. There's another issue rising up right alongside this, and with all due respect to all the people who come here and who are talking about this because of their religious beliefs, I have to say, religious beliefs are not what we base law on. I believe in the separation of church and state, and that's why I don't believe my religious beliefs or anyone's here should be what our laws are based on.